Demokratie.
Europa ist eben viel mehr.
Zusammenarbeit zwischen den Völkern.
Freedom.
Bürger der Europäischen Union.
Wherever Bara Jorkovicheva goes, her four-legged friend Johan comes along. Bara is a location scout for international film and television productions in the Czech Republic. We meet in an ostentatious Renaissance palace, soon to be used as a backdrop in a major television show.
This is the best part of my work.
Bara confides that this will be the setting for a mini-series about the royal Borgia family. She's ecstatic that she discovered this well-kept secret. And she's proud that her country possesses so many national treasures. We follow Bara and Johan through the Czech capital, Prague. The two travel constantly, crisscrossing the country, which has been in the EU since 2004. We last visited the Czech Republic in 2000 as the tiny nation was trying to meet the criteria for EU membership. Back then, Prague was in the midst of a major facelift. More than 10 years later, the capital again lives up to its nickname, the Golden City. It was once the seat of the Holy Roman Empire. The charm of the narrow, freshly refurbished streets is a major tourist attraction, and the film industry has also discovered the city. Bara shows us the residence that doubled as Mozart's home in the classic movie Amadeus. Prague's tourism agency provides a map featuring famous film locations.
Here you have all the places where the shooting has been done. And here at Hradčanské Square you can see Shanghai Nights, Van Helsing, Les Miserables. There was like 1,000 protagonists here.
Right next door is a set being prepared for the Franco-German production of Borgia. Czech set designers have a reputation as being very creative. The walls in this theater are being repainted with an eye toward historical accuracy.
It should look like this in the end, so it's quite big deal.
The Barrandov district is the heart of Prague's film and television sector. Some call it the Hollywood of the East. The imposing costume repository lends its wares throughout the world. EU membership has meant a drastic reduction in the red tape needed to attract international customers. On this backlot, a city is being built of wood and styrofoam, ancient Rome recreated with precision accuracy. Attention to detail is vitally important. Competition is fierce, and neighboring countries such as Hungary and Romania are also vying for their share of the film industry. Wages are lower there, and their currencies are weaker than the robust Czech krona. It's made life more complicated for Bara and her colleagues.
In the 90s, when the dollar was like 40 Czech crowns, and then all the budget was very interesting, and they get professional work. So now it's more complicated.
Still, she's confident that Prague's opulent historical buildings will continue to draw foreign film crews. The famous National Museum is one of her favorites.
In Oman it was a staircase in theater, and also my colleagues, they did here Casino Royale, Mission Impossible, so really big movies. So, and now you can see why.
We certainly can. Prague is truly an international city. But now we're eager to see how the rest of the country has changed since our first visit. We meet a master brewer in Pilsen, then travel on to Teplice to check on the forest recovery after years of environmental neglect. In Mlada Boleslav, we visit a Škoda auto assembly plant. And in Bruno, efforts are underway to better integrate the Roma minority. Our sojourn ends back in Prague in the studio of a renowned fashion designer. Our next stop is Pilsen, the home of Pilsner beer. Liquid gold, as the Czechs call it. Years ago, we visited the Pilsner Urquell brewery and met Jan Hlavacek, a fifth-generation master brewer. Back then, he was an ardent supporter of fast-track EU membership for the Czech Republic. Now, he says his enthusiasm has proven well-founded. Life in his small country has improved markedly. So much has been simplified, he says, such as taxes and open borders. We no longer have to deal with customs duties, so the change has been, for the most part, positive. Pilsner Urquell was bought out in 1999 by SAB Miller, one of the world's leading brewers. Now, traditional methods increasingly take a back seat to high tech. We're allowed a bird's-eye view of Europe's most modern bottling plant. The Czech people are also the world's thirstiest beer consumers per capita, downing an average 160 liters of liquid gold per year. Local brands are still popular, but EU membership has brought competition in what has always been a proud Czech tradition. Pilsner Urquell has broadened its palette of brands, and Jan is now looking forward to a time when his country adopts the euro, despite a firmly entrenched cadre of Eurosceptics. Our brewery already does most of its business in euros or dollars, he notes. That's how we pay for all of our equipment, he says. Either way, it all balances out at Pilsner Urquell. There's an old Czech saying that wherever beer is brewed, life is good. Jan believes those are words to live by. After work, he relaxes with a round of golf. An estimated 70,000 play the sport regularly. 15 years ago, the number was just 15,000. It's another sign of increasing prosperity. The Czech people are part of Europe now, Jan says, predicting that the Czechs will soon play a leading role again, just as they did before communism. As in most countries, the newfound prosperity here isn't equally distributed. We traveled north to the foothills of the Riesengebirge mountain range. It's a region where livelihood has traditionally depended on the textile industry. The village of Mostek is celebrating, and nearly all of the 1,400 residents are taking part. Mostek is marking its 450th anniversary with dancing and singing, and of course, vast quantities of beer. But in reality, there's little to celebrate here. The unemployment rate is high. Many scrape together a living doing odd jobs, like serving beer. This man still has enough pocket change to afford a bite to eat. Rostislav Richtera is operating the beer tap. We ask him if the locals are ready for the euro. I'm afraid that the new currency would make everything more expensive, he answers. Our neighboring country, Slovakia, has already joined the Eurozone. Prices skyrocketed there. Near the festival grounds, a hulking reminder of the region's economic decline. A shuttered textile factory. It used to employ 500 people. Rostislav worked there as a maintenance man for more than 20 years. He shows us his old workplace. But why did the factory close its doors? Was it the competition from China? It was bad management, pure and simple, he explains. They earned big salaries, but there was nothing to show for it. The production lines weren't modernized, and no one paid any attention to marketing our products. Most villagers depended on the plant for their livelihoods. Now it's little more than a silent reminder of better days. Rostislav has a clear view of the dormant factory from the balcony of his home. He receives the equivalent of about 290 euros in unemployment benefits per month. It's enough to live on, yet he longs for the pride one feels in doing an honest day's work. I go fishing to clear my mind, he says. My friends think it's strange because I rarely eat fish, but outside, surrounded by nature, it's easy to think about other things. But still, there is a ray of hope for Mostek. EU funds are being invested in modernizing and refurbishing the plant as a biomass power plant. The new management has given Rostislav a part-time job with prospects of full-time employment. It may signal the beginning of a fundamental economic shift for the region. Rostislav will undergo extensive training in preparation to take on his new position. He says he's willing to make sacrifices in return for a job with a future. It's a ray of hope for Rostislav and the entire community, just like the bicycle parkour for the kids built behind the factory, financed by the EU. We travel on to another economically troubled region, the forests of the Erz Mountains, decimated by decades of acid rain, sulfur emissions from lignite-fueled power plants. This region, bordering Germany and Poland, used to be called the Black Triangle, and these images from our first trip here are a clear reminder of the environmental damage. Massive amounts of aid were poured into efforts to revitalize the region, but most of those projects have now expired. Tomas Gremlica is a project manager at the Czech Institute of Environmental Policy. He comes here regularly to observe the reforestation process. Gremlica shows us several new problems that have emerged. For instance, the variety of spruce tree that was planted is susceptible to a killer fungus. Tomas says the best thing would be to start all over again, but that would cost millions of euros, and the ground still hasn't fully recovered from decades of environmental abuse. Even with the newest technology, the continuing sulfur emissions are too high, he says. There are also mounting problems from nitrogen dioxide and other forms of pollution due to increased road traffic. That is bound to affect the plant life here. It's the price society pays for prosperity. Automobile ownership in the Czech Republic has doubled since the Velvet Revolution of 1989. And obviously, the auto industry is booming here. It plays an increasingly powerful role in the Czech economy. Mladá Boleslav has earned the nickname the Detroit of the East. A number of international automakers have assembly lines here. But it's the Škoda brand that remains a source of national pride. When we last visited the Škoda assembly plant in 2000, the firm was teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Volkswagen had just acquired a majority stake in the firm and promised not to slash jobs. Today, Škoda is a full VW subsidiary. Since the automaker relies heavily on exports, it's eager for the Czech Republic to join the Eurozone. This is the Secretive Research and Development Department. Michal Niemiec joined the team in 2007 and has moved steadily up the ladder. Even during the economic crisis, his job was secure. Michal should be among the most supportive of the euro, and yet he's an avowed skeptic. We're also seeing the negative effects, he says, the decreasing standard of living within the EU and much bureaucracy. Brussels regulates everything. We could end up losing many of our Czech traditions. Company housing in Mladá Boleslav. Many of the apartment complexes date back to the communist era. Michal is a newlywed and prefers to live outside of town. He doesn't yet earn enough to finance a home, so the couple is living in a cottage on her parents' property. And Michal is also learning German as a second language, an important step for his future at Škoda. A good working knowledge of German is vital for my career, he says. Most top Škoda managers come from Germany. Michal hopes to work at VW headquarters in Wolfsburg someday. But his wife has second thoughts about that. She's expecting their first child. In broken German, he tells us, a baby is on the way. We leave Bohemia and drive eastward through gently rolling hills. Our destination is Bruno in the eastern province of Moravia. Bruno is the country's second largest city with nearly 400,000 residents. We're most curious about our next stop. Bruno is home to a large Roma community, and we're eager to find out whether their situation has improved since our last visit. Our first meeting with Roma was a sobering experience. In 2000, Karel Holomek guided us through the settlement. An engineer by profession, he's also the president of a Roma advocacy group. Back then, Holomek made it clear how the estimated 270,000 Roma were pinning their hopes on the Czech Republic's EU accession. He says the Roma should receive citizenship with equal rights and duties, but he also insists they should be allowed to retain their unique identity. We meet Holomek again at the same address as a decade ago. The locals call the district the Bronx of Bruno. The streets look a lot better now, he says. Many of the buildings have been renovated. Most are commercial properties, but as a whole, things have improved a great deal. It doesn't look nearly as dilapidated as 10 years ago. Holomek has been working on behalf of the Roma people for decades. Unlike most Romas, he made a conscious effort to integrate into Czech society. Now, without his intervention, our cameras would never be allowed to film here. And still the mistrust is palpable as we stroll through the streets. But we do note signs of progress. Holomek shows off a refurbished apartment complex. Things actually look pretty good here, he notes, although it's still not tidy enough for his taste. Holomek says the Roma have benefited from EU edicts protecting the rights of ethnic minorities. But at the local level, many age-old problems remain. High unemployment, limited access to education and training, high crime rates, and discrimination. Holomek convinces some Roma to speak with us about their search for meaningful employment. I call and they have a job for me, this old man says, but when I arrive, they suddenly have nothing. It's discrimination. This young woman wants to be a hairstylist. She says she knows she needs training to get work, but she doesn't feel discriminated against. Holomek hopes the next generation will have greater opportunities. It's a matter of political will, he says, and the cultivation of a tolerant and unified society. Olomouc has achieved another milestone with the opening of a Roma Cultural Center and Museum run by his daughter Jana Horvatova. She has a doctorate in ethnology. For much of her life, Jana was ashamed of her heritage, but at the university she became interested in investigating her roots. The center and museum aims to inform the public about Roma culture and history, but it also serves as an important source of pride for the Roma people. I always thought of myself as a Czech citizen, Jana says, even before the Iron Curtain fell. But I also felt that I was a woman of the world, a true cosmopolitan. Now I'm a proud 100% European. So the Czech Republic is making slow but steady progress in accepting the Roma people. Now it's back to square one and the capital, Prague. The historic district has been transformed into a massive catwalk as Prague stakes its claim as the center of fashion. But the pricey designer shops cater mostly to tourists. Few Czechs venture into these dazzling temples of haute couture. On our first trip here, we met Czech fashion designer Klára Nademlinska. Back then, she had expressed the hope that EU accession would give her greater access to European markets, and vice versa. Klára still designs her own fashions, but now she has a brand new studio. She says her company has prospered in the free trade environment that came with EU membership. She imports almost all of her materials.
Before I used some Czech wool fabrics, which was with cashmere prints, and it was like long tradition here, but it doesn't exist anymore here.
Her design team has grown along with her business, and she puts out more collections for fashion each season. And she has adapted to changing tastes.
Czech woman was afraid of colors and shapes when it was they prefer more classical things, but now there is not really, like in what I am doing we have clients and doesn't matter if they are Czech or foreigners.
Klára's boutique is located on a prominent downtown shopping street. Her PR agent and friend, Janka Kellerova, is here to check out the latest collection. Klára caters both to tourists and a loyal following of locals. It's the fashion they love, but the Made in Czech Republic tag helps too. Klára has big plans.
What will be great if one day we can have like shoes and bags together and like really to build up this Klára's world, that they can have it all together.
But life has changed in other ways for Klára and her friend. They are both mothers now, and combining private life with a profession is often an arduous task. They've decided that one child is enough, and in that they're not alone. The Czech birth rate has plummeted, as it has throughout Europe. Women's lifestyles have changed dramatically here over the past 20 years.
Then everybody was having so young child, like at 18, 20, it was normal when you finished the school to have family and kids. And now, with possibilities of work and traveling, everybody's like leaving it for later.
And both of their sons are already learning English. Proud mothers preparing their children for a bright future.
So chances are big, they can do really what they want, they can choose their education, they can choose the jobs in different countries and get some new experiences, which is very important for the beginning of their career.
It seems the Czech Republic has recaptured its traditional place as a center point of European culture and business as tradition forges into the future.